Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Explode, your expert biz show. And today I'm here with the one and only, the super smart Nathan Chai. How you doing, Nathan?
Yo, Simone. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. It's a beautiful day here in London. What is it, like 29 degrees?
Yeah, man, we are in LA. We are not in London. We are in LA here for these past 2 weeks.
You
Um,
feeling the heat, bro?
I'm always feeling the heat. I'm always feeling the heat. Now, talking about heat, there is something we're talking about a very hot topic today. Very hot topic.
Nice segue.
Not incredible. I've been doing this for a while, right? You can see that. And we're talking about a very hot topic, which is content creation. And right now, if you are in business and you're not creating content, you're out of business. I mean, simple. So Nathan is a guy that is insanely great at content strategy and content creation. So before we dive into some practical strategies here, I'm curious about what got you into the whole content marketing, content creation for businesses.
It's a great question, Simone, and I'm glad that you're curious about this because it content is this really strange beast that seems really mysterious at first, but actually it's really simple. It's all about telling stories about your business and who you are. In 2010, I'm going to say, I started writing for my university magazine, basically because I was hugely narcissistic and thought, oh, people want to hear things that I've got to say, right?
Of course.
And I found so much joy in finding out these weird facts about the world or just sharing things that I was, like you are, curious about. So I remember one of the articles I wrote was about this thing called the hedgehog principle. No, the hedgehog paradox. And it's fascinating, right? I was just like pressing the random button on Wikipedia and I found this article. And this is all about how when humans get closer together, we're actually providing more pain for ourselves as we like two hedgehogs trying to get close. The closer they get, the more the needles go into each other, but we're both warmer. And I thought, wow, this is fascinating. Why don't more people know about this? So I started writing about this in my university magazine, and then I graduated, traveled the world, and been through relationships and stuff like that. And I found that the one thing that was consistent, no matter what country I was in, no matter which girl I was with, no matter what I was doing for money, I was always writing. And, I became the editor of the UK's third largest B2B tech magazine. I was freelance writing for a long time. And I kept meeting these incredible people that ran these businesses that sound really boring on the surface, right? Like when it gets down to it, GTeX is what, like an events management company?
That's one of the product is yes, there is
One of the products,
one of
right?
the product is,
Which
Woohoo!
sounds so boring. Like, oh yeah, what do you do? I do events management. What do you do?
Great.
I'm a sales consultant, right?
Yeah.
But the thing was, that's not actually what they were doing. That's just the story that they were telling themselves and telling their clients and potential clients. But the fact is, they had so much more value than just for someone to be like, oh, events management company, oh, sales consultant, oh, property investor. I was with a client in Switzerland a couple of months ago, and we had this fantastic workshop. And afterwards, the guy was like, "This has been such a great workshop. I'm going to crack open the champagne." And we were grilling on their veranda, overlooking the beautiful Swiss mountains, drinking champagne. And I said, "Do you know what it is that you actually sell?" And he said, "Oh, we sell property deals." And I said, "No, that's not true. With all due respect, that's not true. What you actually sell is time. You speed up people's ability to retire early, and you speed up their growth of wealth. And seeing the look on this guy's face where he was like, oh my goodness, actually,
It's like
yeah.
the penny dropped in that moment.
The penny dropped in that moment, and not only did he was fine with understanding his business in his head, but it felt like there was a disconnect in his heart. He didn't realize the unlimited value that he was providing to people. And that's what really drives me when I work with businesses, is to figure out exactly what it is that their story is.
And you're a master at that, guys. If you make sure that you connect, there is going to be the link in the show notes, and you connect with Nathan Chai on Facebook because he's always creating like short articles, and his storytelling.
I'm trying to. I've launched a thing where I'm going to try and produce a piece of content every single day. I was doing like
and you give up already.
Blogs every week. Sorry.
No, man, guys, make sure that you check him out because you can see how to use stories. Like, there are very few people that are able to use stories in such an effective and captivating way. You know, I think that your way of storytelling and content creation is very unique in that side, and I want people to check out the way you write because then they can have a clear example. Quick question right now about the content creation. Now we have for some people can be overwhelming, for some people can be frustrating, for some people can be I can't be bothered, I hate writing or I hate create content.
Yeah.
So the question I have for you is writing, because you talked a lot about writing, but is writing the only way to create content or the best way? What's your view on that?
So, one of the biggest questions that my clients ask me is, what should I be doing?
Yeah.
Should I be writing? Should I be making videos? Should I be doing podcasts? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And the real key to storytelling is consistency. People want to follow you on your journey. They want to know more about you. The reason why the personal branding sector has exploded in the past 5 years or so is because people don't want to do business with, you know, GTeX or Story One. People want to do business with Simone and Nate. They want to know more about you. So consistency is the most important thing. Whatever medium that allows you to be consistent is what I recommend people do. If you love being in front of a camera, shoot video. If you love writing, write. If you don't want people to see your face and you can speak well, then do a podcast. The most important thing when you get started is consistency. Now, my clients pay me to do a lot of their content implementation for them. So that's like, we produce videos, we do articles and things like that. But I think for a lot of the guys listening today, if you want to get started right now, ask yourself, what is it that you enjoy doing? Because that's the most important thing. When you're sharing content, you're effectively sharing parts of yourself. And if you're not enthusiastic about creating it, then that's going to show in what you do. And you're just not going to connect with the people who want to give you money to help them with their journey.
Absolutely. In fact, when I started with videos. I loved videos. And actually, no, I started writing. When I started writing. And then I was like, oh my God, this is so dull and boring. I hate it. I mean, I wrote 4 books, a pain in the ass. I'm publishing my 5th one. I'm procrastinating like hell. And I don't like writing. Give me a camera. Hey, the show is starting. Give me a microphone. Hey, let's start a party. And then you will find a different way of outsourcing that content. So we covered now on start with what is your strongest suit. Let's talk about, for our audience, for our listeners that actually have been already in business for a while. They've been already consistent with content, and now they're thinking more about repurposing, distribution. What is your top advice around that area? Where would you start?
There's a lot to unpack in what you just said. So let's focus
Brilliant.
on
We got time.
I hope so. So let's focus mainly on distribution.
Right.
Now, the key part about storytelling and content creation is building an audience that really, really like who you are and the message that you're putting out and the values that you have. The real question is, how do we build that audience, right? Now, most people use the kind of pre-social media mindset. I actually posted an article about it today on my Facebook. Add me, and then you can see it. But it was about how a lot of people think about content marketing and focus more on the marketing side of things and think, okay, well, essentially what I'm doing is putting out a brochure for my products or services. And that's not how people buy these days. I'm doing an event on the 10th of July, and mainly focusing on some of the statistics surrounding how buying behaviors now. And the fact is, most people do their research online, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to distribution, you've got to look at, where am I generating the leads? For one of my clients, his name is Anders, he generates a ton of leads through LinkedIn. So therefore, the best place for him to put his content is on LinkedIn. I know one of, I don't know if she's a client of yours, Desislava?
Yeah.
Desislava Dobreva?
Yeah.
She gets a ton of leads through Facebook. So the best place for her to put her content is on Facebook. Mm-hmm. If you run more of a niche location-based company, like, I don't know, a pub or something that people actually have to come to get, probably the best place that you're going to find leads is on your website. So where should you put your content? On your website. It all boils down to your sales process as well.
So the content needs to be linked to the sales process, and that's the biggest thing. Where a lot of people are just putting content for the sake of it, because they say, everyone is saying you need to create content. They're like, okay,
okay,
I'm gonna create some content and blast it out. Doesn't matter what. For example, I don't. Everyone is talking about Instagram here, Instagram there, and Instagram is a huge platform. There are a lot of businesses that make a lot of money from Instagram, but with all the time I've been on Instagram, I might have been got one client, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And I put one post on Facebook and one post on LinkedIn. I got 15 clients. I'm focusing on Facebook and LinkedIn, and then I'm on Instagram just to see that someone's searching for me. I'm there, and there is consistency, there is a presence. So people say, well, at least they can see the presence, but I'm nowhere near focused. Like, you go on my Instagram pictures, and they're all like a weird selfie with my face in the corner popping up on one side, which people started asking me if I get paid actually to make selfies with my face popping up on one corner of the picture. But yeah, so it's about focusing on the right platform. Now, you mentioned a lot of times this word, which is storytelling, and your company Story Wand. There are ways and ways to tell stories. And there are some people that say, well, I'm not really great at telling stories. Yeah. Is there a structure or a modality that you use when you create a post for you or for yourself or for one of your clients, like a model that you use to make sure that that story actually is interesting, is engaging, instead of saying, what the freak is that?
So there's two things to what you said. The first thing that I want to talk about is templates. One of the secrets to being consistent with the stories that you share is having a template. And I don't mean, you ever play Mad Libs?
No, what's that?
Mad Libs is like, it's like a story with blank spaces. So it's like, one day I went to
yes.
And and people do it to create comedy. That's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a template. I mean a system for telling a story. So I was at a Guardian workshop, the newspaper The Guardian, hosted by a guy called Will Storr, who's one of my favorite journalists and writers. And we really went into the neuroscience of storytelling. Now, without getting too complex, let's go through two strategies, right? So you've got educational content, and then you've got entertaining content, right? Educational content should follow a very basic structure, which Socrates, the famous Greek philosopher, spoke about. It's just 3 rules of rhetoric. And that's tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. So a basic introduction, you start with some information like, did you know that 70% of birds are really delicious? In this article, we're going to teach you how to cook them. And then you go through the different birds and how to cook them. And then in the conclusion, at the bottom, you would say, so here's a summary of everything I've said. Gooses are too big for ovens. Chickens work great in curries, and pigeons are delicious for hors d'oeuvres, for example. Kind of a weird example, but
that's brilliant.
I went with it. So that's educational content. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Now, content that excites or motivates people is a little harder to do, specifically because the language you use has to be a lot more emotive and a lot more emotional, and a lot of people struggle with that, myself included. That's why I've started writing more fiction, just in my personal life. But the key to telling an exciting story or a motivational story is that you need to take people on a roller coaster, right? Where are we starting? Where are we finishing? And then chart that journey. Now, a straight line is boring. You want to go up and up and up, huge failure, and then recover. And that's why negative headlines do so well. You know, you've probably seen those like clickbait articles that are like, doctors hate him. He's managed to lose this much weight in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the U.S. government banned this fruit.
Exactly. But what's amazing about those, I'm kind of fascinated by them, is that they tell such an amazing story really quickly. So we've got the drama between this previously fat guy and the doctors. That's there. We see the journey that he's gone through of like being an overweight person to being like a fit person. And then we've got this journey here because he did it in only 2 weeks. So it sounds like kind of a rough ride, right? I'm excited. I'm intrigued. And it's about building these peaks and troughs within your story. And I know you do a similar thing when you're speaking, Simone, right? You build the excitement. People are paying attention. They're paying attention. You give them a very logical message. Then you take the tone down and you go to another emotional place. But instead of building excitement, it's more
introspective.
Introspective, exactly. And then at the end, you build them up again. And that's kind of how you do like entertaining content or motivational content. Like I said, that is a bit more complex because you're playing with emotions rather than just giving someone information quickly. But I would stick to that structure. Start at a place and then end in a better place. And then take people up a high and then a low, and then how you got to this, you know, what your journey was.
Oh, I absolutely love that because it makes it simple. You know, there are a lot of different ways of storytelling. No, well, it does. It does. At the end of the day, you say you're here, you want to be there, then you ended up there, and then there is a journey, high, low, result. And just by following that, every time you're writing a post, which is where you want, or an article, or a comment, that the aim is not to educate, or it can even be to educate, but in particular in this case is to inspire and motivate. Then use that structure. And then if you want to create something which is more value oriented and which is more educational, then tell them. Then tell them what you're going to tell them.
Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them.
And then tell them what you told them. Socrates was always right.
I mean, once you get really good, or you just hire my company, you can learn how to combine the two to create this really emotional educational journey, and that's the kind of content that sells.
But I see your engagement is crazy. Sometimes you got posts and you got like tens of comments or 20, 30 comments going down because people are engaged through the reading. That's why I want people to connect with you and see how you write, because people get engaged through the reading and it feels like, oh, I want to go to the next step. I want to go to the next step and I want to read more and I want to read more and I want to read more. So just create this addiction to completion throughout the content, which is incredibly masterful. So, and you can do that, as Nathan just said, with articles. You can do that with videos. You can do that with podcasts. It's just that on one side you will have the written words. On the other side you will have your facial expression, your tonality, your voice on top of the words as well, because the words also play an important part. And this is how you can create incredibly engaging content. Now, it's time we reach the part where we are going to lift the veil. This is lifting the veil. We are lifting the veil. Where
Should I take off my blazer?
It depends. You have a shirt underneath, so that's fine. So now we are going to do lifting the veil. We're going to make sure we lift the veil. And you're going to share something that you do in your business, or maybe you use, that makes the difference and everyone should know about. What is that thing for you?
So one of the reasons that I get so much engagement with my posts is that they are focused on specific people, right? Most of my posts begin with me tagging. So I post a lot on Facebook.
Yes.
I was using LinkedIn before, and I've moved over to Facebook now. I like it more. I don't know. It seems more fun. It's more community driven. It seems to me. I mean, I'm working on LinkedIn as well, but anyway, they're really focused on answering specific people's questions, because I know that whenever I've got a question for someone who's an expert, I'm actually helping the room when I ask that question, because there are, you know, if I'm in a room of 50 people, there are probably 10%, 15% of people who are thinking the same thing and want that question answered themselves. They just
didn't ask it.
For whatever reason, they're not asked the question. So what I do is whenever I post something, I'll look at who's liked it, I'll look at who's commented, and I'll divide those two into different kinds of leads. So the people who like it are kind of like cool-ish leads. I mean, what's a like? You don't even know if they've read it, right? They're just like blah, 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 blah.
Like, yeah, see a post from Nate. Like.
Yeah. I mean, and that's great. And they're obviously a supporter of you, and they want to show that they're supporting you. But perhaps you haven't quite spoken to them directly. So with all of the likes that I get on an educational post, I'll send them a message that says, hey, thank you so much for the like. I'm really looking to answer a lot of questions and deliver value to a lot of people. What can I help you with regards to content? And sometimes they'll be like, oh, wow, I've got nothing at the moment, but I'll get back to you later. Or sometimes they'll give you an idea for a piece of content, right? So I was speaking to a woman who walks dogs the other day on Facebook, because she liked one of my posts. And she was like, well, to be honest, I don't really even know what content is. So I like your posts, but I have no idea what they're about. And this was a huge learning point for me and my business, and being like, oh, actually, perhaps I'm not making it simple enough, right? And I've got another piece of content, and I bet, you know, thousands of people have asked that very same question. And then we get to the comments, right? So anyone who comments on your post has probably read it, or at least cares enough to put in those few extra seconds and be like, great article. I really enjoyed reading this. Thank you so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they would be your warmer leads. Now, with these people, I would recommend saying, hey, thank you so much for your comment. It means a lot. Ask them the question as well about what they'd like to see from you, and then go one step further and say, hey, listen, would you be interested in seeing how we can work together? And then booking a sales call from that.
This is very powerful. It's incredibly powerful because a lot of people, they will just create content and then leave it there. And the money is in the follow-up. The
Money's in the follow-up.
always in the bloody follow-up. And now you just put all this effort in creating content, and to create a good piece of content, or you will hire a company like Nate's company, or you will take time to create this great piece of content, or your team will create this great piece of content. But what's the point?
Sorry, Simone, I'm just going to interrupt you. But what's amazing about what's amazing once you start getting the ball rolling and you're answering all these questions that you've asked people to say, like, what is it that you need to know? Help me understand. What they're giving you is they're giving you objections that you can answer by answering them quite clearly. Then later on in the process, whenever you have this objection again, you can say, wow, great question. I'm glad you asked that. A lot of people also are wondering the same thing. I've written this article that should explain everything for you. I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow or next week. And if you have any more questions, I'm sure I've got a lot more great stuff to help you out. It's not about selling anymore. It's about helping. What did I say? It's not selling to people. It's selling with people. Mm-hmm. We are bombarded with information in today's age. Like, I can Google anything, right? But the real question is, why do they want to work with you? And it's because you held their hand through the process until the only question they have left is, how much is it? Can I afford it? You know, do you do payment plans? And at that point, you've basically made the sale. If anyone ever asks you, how much is it? In their brain, they're already trying to do the mental calculations of, all right, I think it's going to be this much. Can I afford it? They're mentally going through their bank accounts, right? That's what is so powerful about content creation, is that you are just answering objections consistently and providing value consistently. And then eventually people are going to come to the conclusion that, wow, if I'm not working with this person, then I'm missing out and I am limiting my own business.
And instead of doing tons of sales calls and selling yourself and explaining yourself from scratch, the leads that are coming from content, from that have read your content, they already trust you, they already like you, and they already see you as an authority. They already see the value in what you can provide. So then it becomes literally a matter of how much is it? Instead
it's just
of
logistics.
It's just logistics. Instead of, are you the right person, or is your service the right service? Those questions have already been handled through the content. So you mentioned that a part of your content is also objection handling. So you create content to handle some objection. So what I want to wrap up this interview with is, can you give me an example of a piece of content that, for example, you use to handle one of the objections that one of the clients had to working with you?
So one of my clients who's doing really well, he's what's the term he uses? He finds culture change in engineering companies, right? So engineering companies are very well known for being quite stuck in their ways and having a complete divide between the engineers and the management. And that leads to, 1, wasted money, 2, a lot of conflict between the two groups, and 3, like, just poorly managed companies. Mm-hmm. But obviously he's going to sell to management and work with the engineers.
Yes.
So one of the biggest objections they had was, well, we don't care, it's not going to make us money. So we produced an article that was about why quarterly reports are lying to you. Right? Mm-hmm. So immediately right then, for the audience, obviously, there's like, what? We run our business on quarterly reports. Yeah. If the numbers haven't gone up this quarter, then, you know, are there no words allowed on the show?
No, go for it. Go for it.
We fucked up. If our quarterly reports are going down, then we fucked up somewhere, right? So we produced this article that's like, they don't matter, or they aren't what you should be focusing on. And suddenly we've provided a mindset shift for management, or we've at least provoked some controversy there where they're going to engage with my client. We've also handled the objection of, well, it's not worth it, because the conceit of the article is that quarterly reports don't show anything. It's the end of year reports. I mean, if with engineering specifically, they're on like a 5-year R&D cycle, so they will typically put out new engines or whatever every 5 years or so. So what's a quarterly report really going to show you? If I can produce an engine in 5 years and
you're judging me on the quarterly report,
you're judging me on a quarter, like, how does that make any sense whatsoever?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that we're doing. I mean, I'll give you another example, actually, because that was quite niche, but something that every business will run into is it's too expensive. Right? It's too expensive.
Unless you are too cheap.
Yeah. that's an entirely different problem.
But let's say that you have the right pricing.
Yeah, let's leave it to you have the right pricing, right? It's too expensive. And what I would say to that is there's two real pieces of content that you should put out. And one of them is very negative focused, and that's, well, here's what happened with people that didn't invest in this, right? So if take my business, for example, here's what happens if you don't invest in quality content. You'll actually lose leads because people will see that the content you're putting out is just shit and it's not providing value to them. You're damaging your brand as well within the market space because, again, no one's engaging with what you're putting out. No one cares. It's generic and useless. And finally, you're losing an attachment with your existing client base because they know it's not you. They know it's inauthentic. They're like, who is, what you know, I thought I was working with you, not this online persona that's clearly
not you,
not what you're about.
Yeah.
Then conversely, you can say, well, here's why content is worth the investment, right? Because leads will qualify themselves. They'll either completely agree with you or completely disagree with you. Obviously, you want these people to work with, but these people are great because at least you know that you're doing something different from everyone else. Similarly, people will understand your brand message. They'll love your values. They'll stick with you through thick and thin. They'll become actual fans of your business. Like we talk a lot about clients and then we talk about fans. Like fans will shout your name from the rooftops and be like, you have to work with this person. If you're going to do this, you have to work with this person. And that's what content does. Even people who haven't bought from you. That's insane. You know, we sell programs for £5,000 where it's implementation for them. We sell products for like £15,000. I get it. Not everyone can afford it. But the fact is that on Facebook and when I go networking, people are always like, wow, Nate, all the stuff that you're putting out is fantastic. It's really helping with my business. I mean, look at some of the comments that I get on Facebook.
Yeah.
A woman literally said, oh, my goodness, I was struggling so much today. And this piece of content has really helped me and my staff produce this in way less time than we thought. And, you know, that's kind of what makes it worth it as a side note. And finally, you know, my third point in why investing in content is a good idea is just because it helps you understand more about your business. Because good content is hugely consultative, kind of like that story I told you earlier about the client in Switzerland. So those would be the how I would handle the objection of, oh, it's too expensive. Is you do one.
And would those be two separate articles? There would be two separate articles. One focus on the negative, one totally focus on the positive.
Any piece of content that you put out, only focus on one idea.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So think about now that you're listening, what objection come up? Time, money, is not the right product.
Yeah.
Why you instead of someone else? So all these kind of things that you know somehow they might come up during the conversation, create pieces of content around that. Because by doing it, first of all, you are already answering objections that people will make during the sales call, or they will actually book the sales call because already have handled the objections up front that stop them from getting on the sales call. So it's not just about that sales call. Nate, it's been a fantastic interview, jam-packed of value. Absolutely loved it. Now, I know you're running events and also you have a blueprint for people that want to become better with their content. Right, so let us know about that.
So, on July 10th, my dad and I are running an event in the Park Plaza Sherlock Holmes on 108 Baker Street from 6:30 to 9 p.m. We're going to be going through a lot of the things that I spoke about in this interview, but in a bit more depth. So my dad has generated over £1 million in investment just from doing Facebook Lives, which is kind of insane and sounds stupid, right?
Yeah.
Like, just someone posting videos on Facebook has managed to generate over £1 million in investment. And I'm going to be going through techniques that I use with myself and my clients to help them create content quickly and easily, because I know you guys out there want to produce content, and I know that you're trying to, but there are some hurdles that are in the way. It might be a mental block. It might be you don't know what to write. It might be you don't have time. It might be that you're worried that no one will care. We're going to go through each one of those and help you guys understand how you can create content quickly and easily. Also, for you guys, I've included a free download to my 7-figure content blueprint, which is 5 keys to great content that you can put out. 5 keys to storytelling that you need to follow in order to have effective results with the content that you put out. Now, normally, that's £147, but Simone, with his Italian stallion negotiation skills, has managed to just give it away for free. I don't know how you managed to swing that.
I forced you. You were scared. You were scared about you were scared to get into a fight with me, and that's why we had to put it for free, guys. Both the links are here in the show notes of the event, and if you can't attend that event as well, there are going to be events in the future, or if you are listening to this recording maybe after the event, because you'll be listening to that after, then check the link anyway, because there will be an updated version of the events. I'm involved in the events as well, so I will be there. I'm really excited. I will be really excited to see you. And so the next one is on the 10th of July. And then we're going to have frequent ones. So check out that page, book your event, and get the 7 figures content blueprint, because I've read it. It's freaking awesome. You must have it too. Nate, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm glad you had a good time, and hopefully you had a good time too, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't subscribed yet to the show, make sure you subscribe right now. Click that juicy, sexy button right now, there, and then, yeah, done it, good job. And then leave us a 5-star review if you are on iTunes. It will help us spread the word. I'm sure Nate will really appreciate it, and don't do it for me, do it for him. And leave us a 5-star review. Thank you very much for listening, and up until next episode, remember that together we grow exponentially. Ciao.
I'm waving.